back to our channel. Or if it's your first time joining us, welcome. We thank you for joining us on this journey. Today we are going to speak about something that is very important. We do have a prior video about our maternal health, and it is worth emphasizing because the US is one of the worst countries when it comes to maternal health. When it comes to developed countries, resource-rich countries, it is one of the worst, and even worse for Black women and women of color. And so it is so important to know how to advocate for yourself when you are pregnant, when you're considering pregnancy, and just in your health in general. And so we're going to
talk about that. I know specifically, even when it comes to any sort of reproductive health, when I was in college and, I started feeling some stomach pains. I was throwing up, everything. And I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? So I had some friends take me to the hospital, emergency room. And the first time the nurse was like, oh, you're pregnant. And I'm like, I kind of know how that works. And I'm pretty sure I'm not, I'm pretty sure I'm not. But it was automatically because I was a Black woman, in my late teens. I was put into a box, and I became a statistic the minute I walked through the door. They didn't even care to triage me yet. It was just immediately, oh, this is what the problem is. It's not. And so they did maybe do the blood test, maybe do a P test, negative, because I told you that's not it. Oh, well, then it must be a bladder infection. I'm like, does your bladder infection cause your abdomen to swell up like this? And they gave me meds for a bladder infection and sent me on my way. The next month I was back again. Something's wrong with me. What's going on? And so I think that time they gave me pain pills and sent me away. And then it wasn't until the third time I went to the emergency room, because it was just like getting worse, and my stomach just kept growing and growing. And I'm like, I'm not pregnant. I know this. And I had a Black doctor this time, a Black male doctor. And he examined me. And when I laid back, he said, you have a mass protruding from your abdomen. No kidding. I was trying to tell y'all that for the past 3 months. And that's when he had said, have you ever heard of uterine fibroids? And I'm like, no, what's that? And so I had to go home and, do my research, because this was back before cell phones had internet access. So I had to go back on my computer and do my research and, get, more information on it. And then he referred me to, being able to go get a sonogram done and everything. But if I had known that I could fight for myself and demand better care when I was that age, I would have. And it just shows you the importance. Thank God it wasn't cancer. Thank God it wasn't something serious. And at one point, actually, when I finally saw my primary physician at home, she said, that mass looks kind of big. We're going to have to consider that this may be cancer, but we won't know until we perform the surgery. So I was faced with having to go to sleep and wake up not knowing if I still had my reproductive organs. And this was at 20 years old, And so I always think, like, had I fought for myself, or had I known that I could fight for myself early on, I wouldn't have had to go through all of that. The hair loss, the pain, the misery, the suffering, and the having, these white doctors and white nurses look at me and say, oh, you're just pregnant. Oh, you're overreacting. Like, I was dismissed, and it is a common thing here in the United States, specifically and especially for people of color. And we have to learn that we have a voice, and you have to fight for yourself. If something doesn't feel right, demand that they figure it out. I want x-rays. I want a CT scan. I want blood drawn. You have the right to do that. In the US, demand proper care because you're worth it.
Yes. And not everybody is so fortunate. Of course, it took so many times, and the pain that Christy had to go through just to get the answer and get, the appropriate care. But some people aren't so fortunate, and, they're turned away so many times that they end up dying.
Exactly.
And so, you don't want that to happen to you, to your family member. And so do not take no for an answer. You know your body, exactly, things that don't feel right, don't look right. So let them know, like, no, I'm not going to take no for an answer. and don't let them dismiss you, because 60% of people who die from preventable causes. You know, when it comes to like maternal health, reproductive health, it's 60%. That is an outstanding number. It is, yes, absolutely outrageous. Like, you know, why in the U.S. would it be that high when we have so many resources?
And we consider ourselves the leader in innovation and what is available in this country. We think that we're the best, but then why are our women dying?
Right.
Why? From preventable things.
Preventable, completely preventable. And so, you know, definitely advocate for yourself and just know your history. Know, you know, your family history, your medical history. You know, be familiar with your file and just know you have the right to access your file.
Yes.
And so if you don't know, get access.
Yes.
Make sure you comb through it and make sure that you understand what is in that file. And so that when the doctor has questions, you can let them know, and you know for yourself, you know,
what's going on,
right.
And make sure things are correct, because I have requested my medical file and found them saying that they prescribed me medication that I never was prescribed and that I never took. And so I had to call, number one, my insurance company and say, take that off my file because that's not true. And if they billed you for that, then you go get your money back. But, you know, but what if I pass out and they think, oh, let's not give her these meds because she's on this.
Right.
So it's important to know your file. You have a right to request your file. They may charge you a fee to print it, or they can email it to you or whatever. Nowadays, you can just pull it up online.
Yeah, electronic.
Exactly.
And it's easy.
But take the time. I mean, 10 minutes out of your day for a lifetime of trouble. Take the time to, you know what your medical file says about you.
Exactly. And make sure that someone close to you, whether your best friend, your partner, your mother, whoever, they are aware as well, so that, you know, when you cannot advocate for yourself, you have somebody else there. When I was, you know, in the hospital for my pregnancies and, you know, later child losses, my husband was there, and he was making sure that he was involved, that he was listening to what the doctors were saying, because if one doctor says something and then another doctor says something that is, you know, completely contrary to what the first doctor said, he has questions. And so you need somebody like that in your corner, in your team, just making sure that they are listening, that they are aware that when the doctor comes in, they're not just talking to you. You know, make sure that that person is listening as well, taking notes if necessary, so that if there's, you know, something that is just like, this doesn't sound right, that you ask questions. You ask questions, and you make sure that the nurses, the doctors are on top of it. And, you know, don't let your health fall secondary, and, you know, whatever questions that you have, ask them, because the doctors have to ask them, answer them, no matter how, you know, trivial they may seem or anything like that. Just make sure that you and, you know, that person are on the same page, and you're advocating for yourselves. And
a lot of people may not know this, but you do have the right to tell your doctor to slow down. Or to break down, you know, certain words and phrases into layman terms, because their vernacular is not the same as ours. So you have the right to ask your doctor to slow down or explain it for you. And you do have the right to switch doctors. If at any point you feel like your doctor does not have your best interest in mind, you can say you are dismissed from you can fire your doctor from your case. You are allowed to do that. And I feel like a lot of people, because doctors will throw all this lingo at you and make them look even more important, so you feel like, oh, it may be an insult if I say that I don't trust this doctor or whatever. It's your body. It's your life. Exactly. It is your life. If Dr. Frankenstein is not working out, I need to. He's not going to work out. Who's the manager of this hospital? Because I need somebody else assigned to this case, and you have a right to do that. You have a right to do that, and I think that that's what people forget in any setting. Even when I was, you know, working for the federal government, a lot of people did not know their rights and allowed people to tell them what they could or could not do, when, you know, there are laws and rules and policies in place that say otherwise. So be aware of what your rights are. Be educated in that. And it doesn't take a lot. It doesn't take a lot to look up these things. And I think people get overwhelmed with like, I can't read that. I can't research that. You can. And you should, because your life depends on it.
Right. And research and ask questions, because, of course, Google will lead you astray.
Yes.
So, your Google research does not replace a doctorate, degree, a medical doctorate degree, and everything. But still, you can research it and ask questions. If there's something that doesn't make sense to you or doesn't line up with what the doctor is telling you, ask questions. And of course, we're not saying, all doctors, all nurses. Like, I had amazing doctors and nurses, throughout my experiences, with the child loss and everything. And, I thank God for them. They were like angels, literally. One of the nurses actually discovered that I had a blood clot, whereas one nurse was actually about to dismiss it. And honestly, it was a Black nurse that was about to dismiss it. And it was a white nurse that, was just like, no, we need to do some further testing because something isn't right. And sure enough, it was a blood clot. And so, not all doctors and nurses are, bad or, not as...
it's not always about race.
Exactly.
Just put it that way. It's not always about race. Sometimes it's just, you just need to fight for yourself.
Right.
And you need to, ask the right questions and sometimes trust but verify.
Yes.
It's okay to ask for a second opinion.
Yeah.
And we hope that this is helping you guys. We hope that you guys are encouraged by it and that you, know that you are important.
Yes.
And know that if no one else in the room is advocating for you, you should advocate for yourself. And have someone in your life that can be there to advocate for you in the event that for some reason you're unconscious and you're not able to make decisions on your medical, procedures. Advocacy, very, very important. We can't stress it enough because your life is important.
So
and you matter.
So we thank you for joining us. And if you have any questions in regards to this, what we've discussed, feel free to leave them in the comments. We do respond. We're not doctors. So don't ask us medical questions because we cannot answer them. But, just in regards to advocacy, sure enough, send us your comments, your questions, and we can, respond accordingly. And so we thank you for joining us. As always, we hope that you continue this journey with us, and see you later.
Bye.